convinced you niggas that one white boy shooting two white boys is somehow racist. And you niggas will make the most asinine connection to try to make a point. Well, you know, if that boy would have been black, they would have shot that nigga dead. Nigga, that shit don't amount to a load in the commode. Where you gonna cash that 2-cent check? It's funny how niggas will give up the freedom of provocative speech and critical thought for the maximum security prison of conformity. At this point, to question anything is an act of terrorism. And I'm so afraid. So scared. Because they might get me next. They use the pandemic as a psyop to further muzzle free speech. Now, this isn't anything new. The establishment is in consistent conflict with the citizen over what they're allowed to express freely. But now, with the age of information, these heathens have to work overtime to muddy the purified waters of truth. Even now, I can take a source from Wikipedia, the Strong's Concordance, and find the deception within. The minions of fuckery clock major hours in the perversion of truth. Why else does the majority of the world think they live on a spinning ball? Do you know how much brainwashed fuckery you have to ingest to believe some asinine shit like that? Shit, I remember I used to be fucking stupid. These niggas said they went 230,000 miles away to the moon? That shit is less plausible than Santa Claus, my guy. Matter of fact, the moon landing's kind of like Santa Claus for adults. Even if you believe that shit as a kid, ain't no way you believe that shit now. And if you do believe that shit now, let's just say you're not a critical thinker by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, your imagination can't be stretched at all, but rather boxed or balled, if you will. To visualize the earth or universe other than the template you've been force-fed is out of your scope. In your mind, you think, well, if they're wrong about this, then maybe they're wrong about that. But are they wrong, though? Or purposely deceptive? The world is full of serpentine illusions. Of the most paramount are those that seek to conform the mind and spirit into a controllable individual. That's why school is so important to the establishment, because it sets the foundation for the root ideas of mind control. A John Doe strawman citizen puppet is a malleable entity. It could be a janitor. It could be a senator. It doesn't matter. They're both equally brainwashed. They both believe the earth is a spinning ball, man stepped foot on the moon, and Pfizer is a reputable company. Each and every other man in between, a drudge in the sludge of this illusion. Challenge this illusion, they will fight like dogs to defend it, because the illusion is their master. Dead men walking, medium, enchantment of dead spirits, sorcery, necromancy, media. The tools of tricksters and frauds, murderers and thieves. Casting spells of bullshit across the world to exploit the gutless into a faint, bitch-ass heart in order to sodomize their senses with fear fiction as a means of embezzling their rights. Woo! Tough shit, boy. Tough Talking this shit, boy. Talking shit, boy. I said embezzle the rice, bitch. Embezzle the rice. Embezzle the rice, bitch. Embezzle the rice. Casting the spells, bitch. Exploiting your bitch ass. Exploiting your bitch ass. Casting spells of bullshit to exploit your gutless bitch ass heart in order to sodomize your bitch ass with fear fiction as a means to embezzle your rights, bitch. Boom, bitch. Wow, Clyde. Wow, nigger. Wow. Wow, nigger. Put me on, nigger. Wow, nigger. Put me on, nigger. Wow. Woo. Clyde, put me on, bitch. My bad, nigga. My bad. I didn't mean to call you. That's my bad. That's my bad. I got carried away.
All right, writing in his new memoir about your February 5th, 2003 speech to the UN, which has now become historic, here's what the president, former president, says. Colin's presentation was exhaustive, eloquent, and persuasive. Coming against the backdrop of Saddam's defiance of the weapons inspectors, it had a profound impact on the public debate. Later, many of the assertions in Colin's speech would prove inaccurate. But at the time, his words reflected the considered judgment of intelligence agencies at home and around the world. Do you wish you'd been less exhaustive, eloquent, and persuasive?
No, that was my job at the time, and the information that I was being given by the intelligence community hung together. And I spent 4 days and nights out at the CIA going over it and asking every way I could, are you sure of this? You have multiple sources on this. And I got those assurances. There's the same assurances that the intelligence community gave to the president, the same assurances the intelligence community gave to the Congress 4 months earlier at the request of the Congress, and the Congress passed a resolution supporting the president if he decided he had to take military action. That was months before I ever gave my UN speech.
But a lot of people counted on you.
I know.
You changed the ball.
I turned the dials.
Remember that nigga Saddam? What you might not remember is that the U.S. had Colin Powell, of all people, play the fall guy. This was during the early 2000s where Saddam Hussein was the most hated enemy to America and the world we had ever seen. He was gassing people, he was a tyrant, all this, all that, you know, kind of like what they say about Putin right now. Except for back then it was Saddam Hussein. We gotta get Saddam, we gotta get Saddam. So at some point the media had developed a story that Saddam got his hands on nukes. You know, WMD,
right chair.
Weapons of mass destruction.
I hear the WMD is the bomb.
So they had concocted this entire narrative that, you know, if Saddam gets weapons of mass destruction, he's gonna blow up countries in the Middle East. He might even take out Israel. This was being propagated in front of the entire world. So in front of the United Nations, they had Colin Powell get on TV and start pointing at random buildings saying, yeah, there's a bomb in there, that's a missile silo, they hiding babies over there. They got cheap Amazon Fire Sticks over there. There's a whole operation going here. Well, everything that Colin Powell had laid out so beautifully in front of the United Nations turned out to be complete and total bullshit.
And that's what the president wanted me to do and what I was supposed to do.
You regret it?
I regret it now because the information was wrong. Of course I do. But I will always be seen as the one who made the case before the international community. But there wasn't a word in that speech, in that presentation, that was not vetted and approved by the intelligence community. But that's neither here nor there.
Are you ticked?
Yeah. You know, I've had members of Congress say to me, well, you know, I voted for the resolution because of your presentation. And I had to remind them, no, you didn't. You voted for the resolution 3 months before my presentation.
But you helped public opinion.
I swayed public opinion. There's no question about it. But, you know, for months afterward, when we didn't find any weapons of mass destruction, we didn't find the biological vans or any of that, until 6 or 8 months later, the intelligence community still insisted that the items were there, and they weren't.
I don't know about you, but I find it fucking hilarious to watch the media right now have a complete change of face about all the information that they were spewing during the pandemic. It's almost like it didn't exist. Now, they've all come together to introduce a whole new category of fuckery into the psyche of the public via this whole Russia-Ukraine thing. Now, as much as I like the idea of ending all these mandates, I honestly can't help but think that there is something more sinister behind this plan. I mean, would the government really be willing to admit that they were wrong by shutting down the economy and forcing inoculation on the entire country? I mean, it's not like they would just come out and say it, but isn't the deviation from all of these forceful, excessive measures some sort of soft admission of guilt? To be real with y'all, I could see this whole reintroduction to normalcy. I want to get shit back to normal. It looks like things might be getting back to normal. But I could actually see this whole reintroduction to normal life thing being one huge scheme in order to double down on fuckery. Fabricate another pandemic. Blame the unvaccinated again. Institute even harsher measures. Under the suggestion that not enough people got vaccinated and not enough was done the first time. I didn't see them going away without a fight, but it looks like they're going away without a fight? Not likely to believe that. I would absolutely expect some more fuckery down the road. I could see this whole theater being a pregame psyop in order to identify dissenters and displace contenders to the tyranny by gathering intelligence on them through the process of elimination. Hey, we're going after the unjabbed first. Listen, there's plenty of room to speculate with these heathens. They don't have any code of ethics. So if November comes and Slow Joe say, run that shit back, you shouldn't be surprised.